Okay, it's a tense moment because we're trying to figure out who won our presidential election. Well, as usual, I've decided to write some code. So here we go. Now, normally, what happens is the announcers give you a number, like there are 85% of the vote is in. And then they say a certain number is for Trump and a certain number is for Biden. And so the thing that goes on in my head is, well, if there's this many percent of the votes in, and there's this many votes for one and this many votes for the other, I ought to be able to calculate, number one, the total number of votes, and number two, the votes remaining, and number three, the percent of the remaining vote that each candidate has got to get to at least tie and win. So let's take a look at how to write code for something like this. Okay? So we'll go down to the pen. There we are. Okay, and maybe we'll change the camera. Okay, so here we are. So what we want to do is we want to have a variable that says the number of votes in. Let's just put a comment in here. Okay. So let's say some percent of votes in, and then a certain number for Trump and another number for Biden. Okay, so let's start out by maybe let's make a list of candidates, or maybe it should be a tuple. Let's make it a tuple. So candidates. So tuple, that's going to be Trump and Biden. So this is going to save us a little bit of time because so what's the first step here? The first step is to get the data, right? So step number one, get the input data. And that's what we specified up here, what we're going to get. So, okay, so candidates, Trump and Biden. And now we'll ask for the percent in. So okay, so percent in. So that's going to be float and input. So and now in the input statement, we're going to ask for the percent of votes counted. So enter percent of votes counted, colon, space. Okay, so now let's make sure. Have we, I think we've closed all our parentheses, right? But now we want to use this as a proportion, so we're going to divide this by 100. Okay, so that's the percent in. It's going to be a floating point number. Now, we want the votes. We want to get the votes. And we're going to do this with a list comprehension. So in this list comprehension, we want to have two things. We want to have the candidate's name. So here I'm going to call it C for the candidate's name. And then the other thing is going to be the number that gets input. So here I want to get the number. So that's going to be an int of an input. And here I'm going to ask for the number. See, so outside of this, this is just going to be a 4C in candidates. Okay, so C is the candidate's name, and so in here I just need to say enter the current votes. Oh, but this has got to be a format string because I need to put the candidate's name in there. So F, so now I say enter current votes for and put the candidate's name in. C. Okay, so now I'm getting, I should be getting that information. So now let's run this and see what happens. So it's good to test before we write any further. So this says enter percent of votes counted. So, oh, I have a backslash in there. I'm going to get rid of that. So, okay, enter percent of votes counted. So let's say 50% of the votes counted. And then it says enter number of votes for Trump. I'll say 100 and enter votes for Biden 150. Okay, so I put in some numbers. Let's take a look at our data structures up here. So here's our data structures. So Trump has 100 and Biden has 150 and the percent in is 0.5. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Okay, next step. So we need to sum these votes, the 100 and the 150, we need to sum them. So I'm going to use, and we'll call this votes now because that's the number of votes now. And we're going to use the sum function, and of course we need to pass it a list. So I'm going to make a list comprehension that returns the numbers basically. So if we did, so we'll call this V of 1 and then V of 1 because it has index 1, right? And we're going to say for V in, and what's the data structure? Votes. So we can call it votes. Okay. So this should give me the total number of votes. And again, we're going to write that, and now we're going to test. So let's run this. Boom. And it says enter percent of votes counted. And I'm going to put in again 50%, and then current votes for Trump 100 and votes for Biden 150. And okay, let's take a look at our data structure. So votes now is 250, 100 plus 150. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So now what's next? We have the number of votes now. Now we need to calculate the total number of votes, and so total number of votes. So we'll call that votes total, and that is the votes now divided by the percent in. Votes now divided by the percent in. So votes now divided by percent in. Okay. So for example, so if the votes now were 50 and 50% of the votes were in, we divide 50 by 0.5 and we get 100, right? That would be the total number of votes. Okay. So so we can go on to the next thing. That's the total number of votes. Now we need to calculate the number of votes remaining. Number of votes remaining. Okay, so votes remaining is going to be equal to the votes total divided by, minus, not divided, minus the votes now. So that's how many votes are to come. And then what are we going to do? Votes remaining. So the total number of votes to tie, so we could say votes to tie is equal to the votes total divided by 2, right? That would be a tie if the total number of votes, each person got the same total number of votes, right? Yeah, of course. So, okay, so there's that. So maybe I don't need the votes. I don't need to know the votes remaining. Let's see. So now the big thing we have to calculate now is we have to calculate the number of what the votes, yeah, how many votes are needed by each candidate to tie. So we need to have the difference between the number of votes the candidate has now and the number of votes it takes to tie. Okay, so we want to put this in our data structure. So we want to put that here in our data structure. So we're going to add another thing. We're going to tack another thing on here. So how are we going to do that? So, well, we'll start out by saying votes equals this thing. And this list comprehension is for V in votes. Okay, now what are we going to do with V? Well, we said we're going to tack onto it, right? So we're going to have V plus, and to tack onto it, we need another list. And in this list, we're going to have the difference. So that is votes to tie minus the number that we already have. So that's V at index 1. So V at index 1. So yeah, I think we've got it. So let's see what happens. Let's run this now. So run. Percent of votes counted is 80. No. Let's go with 50. We want nice even numbers. Number of votes for Trump. Let's say 200. Number of votes for Biden. Let's say 250. Okay. So what do we get? Votes. Here's our votes structure, and so the total number of votes, so the number of votes now is 450. The votes remaining would be another 450 because the votes total is 900. And so now out of that 900, the votes to tie would be half of that, which is 450. And so if you add 200 plus 250, that's going to give us 450. And 250 and 200, that's going to give us 450. Perfect. Okay. So now we've got our list that has the names and the numbers, the data that is necessary to tie the election. So now the final part is to print out a result to say that this guy needs at least this many percent of the remaining vote to win. Okay, so for loop for V in votes. And what are we going to do? Well, we're going to print something, and what we're going to print is going to be an F string. So let's do that. And then the first thing we need is the name. So that's going to be V at index 0, right? And then the next thing, oh, but we need to put that like that. Okay. And needs at least, now we need to calculate the percent. So the key number here, is going to be V2. That's the number of votes, but I want to say percent. So I'm going to take that and divide it by votes remaining. Yep, votes remaining. And if I'm going to say percent, I need to multiply that by 100, okay, times that, votes remaining. So that should do it, and then just say, then just put percent of remaining votes to win. Boom. Okay, I think we got it here. I think this will be helpful in my analysis of the election results. If it works, let's take a look. Boom. Oops, I tried to run it and I got a syntax error. Why? Because line 1, that's someplace else. File F string. So I got to, oh, I didn't put it, yeah, I forgot to, nope, I closed the quotes. Invalid syntax. It's telling me that that is invalid. Oh, no, I have that and that, which is what I should have because V is in votes. Maybe I should take a look at what votes. V of 0. So V of 0 is going to be the name, right? That's correct. And so let's study this a little bit. Oh yeah, I think I see it now. Yeah, it's I spelled that wrong. Votes remaining, votes remaining, votes remaining. Okay, let's try that. Run. Nope. Votes remaining. So what I'm seeing here doesn't make sense because it's not what I typed. So we're going to do this a step at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this print out of the picture. I may not be thinking clearly because I'm in such an electional fog, but print V. Let's try that. For V in votes, print V. Yep, so now it runs, I think, present 50, 175. Yep, so that runs just fine. Okay, so what's next? So now we could put in an F string. So let's put in an F string, quote, and then that, and then that, and then that. Okay, F string. Here we go. And unfortunately, I have to do typing, but 100, 200, that's fine. Okay, so now I can do just the name. And we run it again. And let's make this a little bit bigger. Oh, you can't even see that result, can you? You can see it now. So, okay, so votes counted, so percent of votes counted, 50 and 100 and 100 doesn't matter. And so there's the two names, Trump, Biden. Good. Okay. So, so needs at least. Let's put that in there. Needs at least. Okay, run it again. 50, 59, 50. Just, okay, needs at least. Okay, that works. So now this expression is this expression. Oh, yeah. Now I found it. Yep. So there's this closed parentheses here. There, closed bracket. Yep. Okay, so now I think I can uncomment my thing, and it should run just fine. Let's see. So, nope. Okay, fine. Just goes to show you, like, once you find one error, it doesn't mean you fixed everything. Okay, so it needs at least 100 times V of 2 divided by votes remaining. Votes remaining. Votes remaining. That looks right. And V has a value in location 2, so that's not the problem. Well, let's take this number and put it in here. Take that calculation, put it in there, and see if, like, now we get the error. No, we did not get the error. So percent of votes counted 50, 50, 50. Everybody has 50. Okay. Needs at least 50. Yep. Okay. So, so now I wonder if it has to do with the percent. Is that a special character that screws everything up? Let's see. Nope. A votes counted. So 50, 50, 50. Boom. Okay, that's not it. So let's see now. Percent of remaining votes to win. Of remaining votes to win. Here we go. No error. So I'm not really sure about how I screwed up typing that string, but I think it's going to work now. 50% of the votes counted, 150, 100, and Trump needs 40% of the remaining votes, and Biden needs 60% of the remaining votes. And that's what I was looking for. Excuse me. So, okay. So that's a little election day problem solving for you guys. And you know, if you wanted, you could add some kind of graphical interface to this if you like or whatever. But I was just interested in like being able to calculate the numbers. So there you go. Um, Enjoy your election binging, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.